Good morning. Welcome back to Morning at 10 TV. My name is Malaki Velodera. Now, today on the Solution segment, we'll be talking about early childhood development. And of course, this discussion wouldn't come at a better time. Your kids are going back to school. It's back to school time. I'm sure traffic is bad where you are at, of course, if you're streaming us live. And so how best can we ensure that our children from birth on towards, them maturing and becoming adolescents and becoming grown-up people, how can we take charge of their health? Of course, from that tender age, very important. And of course, in studios, I have Dr. Shinsha Shetty, who is a pediatrician. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Mala, for having me here.
You're welcome. Now, of course, we were having this discussion on the health of children, and you told me that it starts from a point of pregnancy,
yes,
when the mother is pregnant.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about that.
Well, thank you, Mala. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Mulago Hospital for the specialized women's and neonatal hospital. So, well, pregnancy definitely has its impact on the fetus and therefore the child. So maternal nutrition is a reflection of the child nutrition. And having malnutrition, maternal malnutrition as a problem with us Ugandans, we stand here to overcome that and to see what are the aspects in which and how we approach that. So definitely maternal medicine and maternal nutrition has this impact on neonatal and child nutrition.
Okay, many mothers when they're pregnant, they get to that point whereby they're like, okay, fine, I'm eating healthy, I have a balanced diet, I don't have to take supplements, especially folic acid.
Yeah.
How important is it in relation to the health of the child?
Oh, folic acid is a micronutrient that is so important. In fact, it's not only during pregnancy or the first during your first trimester you should be taking it. In fact, the day you decide that, okay, maybe I want to get pregnant, that's the day you should start folic. They say you should start folic acid 3 months prior to the day you want to you are pregnant. Why that is? Because folate is known to reduce by 46% neural tube defects.
Wow.
Now, neural tube defects is the most common congenital anomaly that leads to childhood morbidity and mortality. And just a simple thing like taking folate can reduce that.
Can reduce that.
Yes.
Okay, let's get to that point. Of course, we know 49% of the population of Uganda is children.
Yes.
And of course, if we do our math, that means that 19,600,000
Can you believe that?
are children.
Yes.
So there's that great gap, and there's an importance for us to just take this issue into perspective, taking care of our children's health. Let's get to that point where you've said folic acid is very key, and of course it translates to the health of the child. Now, for the mother who, let's say it's too late, maybe she's almost giving birth, or has given birth, and the child has this defects, as a pediatrician, how do you handle such cases?
Well, honestly, they are complicated cases, and most of the time they go on to surgery. So a pediatrics neurology surgery is required at that point to fix that. But having said that, there are going to be long-term defects. For example, they can have lower motor neuron weakness. So, and also since it's a spinal cord that we're talking about when we're talking about neural tube defects, so it can also affect their long-term growth, their IQ. So it's multi-dimensional when it affects the neural tube defects, but definitely it's got grave consequences. Having said that, even if the mother has not taken folate supplements during the 9 months, which should never happen, but if it does happen, hopefully if she goes for checkups, in her scans they can be picked up earlier. So having said that, so they can choose, they can be aware of the situation earlier and then plan what to do about it once the baby is born. Yes.
Is the condition reversible after the baby is born with these defects? Can
Unfortunately,
it be reversed?
it isn't. It can't be reversed. So it's permanent. There are milder forms of it. So there are milder and severe forms of it. But that's the thing, you can never predict whether this is going to be mild or severe. So we always say that we would rather prevent the problem than cure it later on. So we're in for prevention. Doctors always advocate prevention. Yes.
Okay, let's get to that point whereby the mother has been blessed with this bouncing baby boy, baby girl. What's the first step in terms of immunization? Of course, we know in private hospitals, you're given an entire list of vaccines that the child has to get,
Yes.
of course, before the age of 2-3 years.
Yes.
But for the public hospitals, what do they give, and what shouldn't a mother miss out on in terms of, you know, the timelines of vaccinations?
Yes, that's a very valid point. Before vaccination, I think the first thing a mother should do is breastfeed her child within 1 hour of the birth. That not only gives the first milk is called as colostrum. It has so many protective factors and immunoglobulins that act as a natural vaccine for the child, a protector towards these infections. Now, having said that, the first vaccination it depends again from country to country. So a country like Uganda, where tuberculosis is so rampant, the first vaccination would be BCG and oral polio vaccine, OPV. Now, BCG vaccine is given to prevent the complications of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis comes in many forms. So BCG is protecting you from like the meningeal forms of tuberculosis. So definitely BCG vaccine and OPV vaccine. So these two vaccines, the mother should make sure that before discharge, the child is immunized, along with breastfeeding the child, and also making sure she asks the medical personnel, when should I come in next?
And when should they come in next for the next vaccine?
Yes. So the next vaccine is at 6 weeks of life. Yes. So normally they're given a card, an immunization card, which they follow. But I always tell my patients, I write a date for them. You know, for them, 6 weeks is so, they're not sure, is it 6th week? Is it the baby 6 weeks old? Right. So I always write the date. Okay, so you come in at this point. Now, when a child comes in for vaccination, we're not only there to give the child vaccination. We are seeing how the motor development is. We're seeing how the sensory development is. We're seeing how the psychosocial development is of this child. Is it normal? Is the baby progressing neurologically normally? So all these assessments a doctor is doing while immunizing the child, or while seeing how the child is doing. We also take anthropometric measurements. So these is like...
What are those?
So anthropometric measurements are, we take the weight of the child, the length of the child, and the head circumference of the child.
How important is that? Because I'm thinking, okay, many mothers will say, I breastfeed, my baby has gotten all the vaccines, she looks healthy, then why should I pay into perspective the issue of the height, the circumference of the head? How important is it? What do they actually point to in terms of symptoms or signs of something worse?
They are so important. They're so essential. In fact, during my training, the first thing we were taught was anthropometry. It's the silent symptom, we say. So things that anthropometry can pick up, and till the time the disease shows us symptoms, there's a lot of time. So the kind of things, the height, weight, the head circumference tells us, we plot that against standardized growth charts. So that is either the WHO or the CDC growth charts. And we see whether it's on the 50th percentile or lower or higher. Now, most of the children I have seen, almost 70–80% of the children, even the healthy babies, the chubby babies you're talking about, they end up being being below 50th percentile. Why that is because there's something known as malnutrition, undernutrition, and that is what the growth charts diagnose. So even if your weight of the child may be normal, but what about the length of the child. What about the head circumference? So the head circumference actually correlates to the brain development. And the first 2 years of life is so essential for brain development, because this is when new neurons are being formed, new nerve cells are being formed, your nerves are being myelinated.
Right.
So that happens in the first 2 years of your life. In fact, when it comes to nutrition, these days, research nutritionists say that the first 1,000 days is so important. So that first 1,000 days is actually the pregnancy, 7 months, and then 2 years.
Oh,
yes.
It factors in the pregnancy.
Yes, exactly. So nutrition is so important. Monitoring of growth is so important. Taking anthropometric measurements, analyzing the neurodevelopment of the child during immunization is so important. So immunization is not only about getting injections, it's about seeing the holistic growth of this child.
All right, which is very important.
Very essential.
So that's what mothers should expect. Whenever they take the children for immunization, the doctors need to take it a step further.
Yes.
And check the weight, check the head circumference, and also the height of the children. Okay, let's get to the other point, which is, like you mentioned, nutrition and the local conversation that we have as mothers is, if my child is chubby, this is a healthy child. So in terms of nutrition, especially at the point of weaning, what are the key factors we should be looking at?
So firstly, we're looking at a balanced diet, and we are looking at also the consistency of the food. So weaning, well, these days is known as complementary feeding. Why do we say complementary feeding? Is because we still continue breastfeeding. We don't stop. So after 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, we don't go like, okay, let's stop breastfeeding and let's start food. No, we continue breastfeeding. On top of that, we have to start supplementing the child with, because breast at that point, up till 6 months, whatever breast milk is enough for the growth till that point. But after 6 months, it's not enough. So you got to start adding on. So I would first start with consistency, being liquid at first. So whatever you're giving, you start with liquids. So having said that, I would start with things like millet, porridge, you know, simple things that are locally made, organically made. Like I know when you go into supermarket and you see those neatly stacked, you know, canned tin food, and I'm like, when Uganda is so fertile, we have got such good soil, and people out there are going gaga about organic food, why can't we feed that organic food to our children? So get the grains, roast them, make them into powder, make porridges out of it, introduce fruits earlier on, give them mashed bananas, give them mashed avocados, just local food that are organically made. So organic foods, very important. And then start consistently with the consistency as well. Check the consistency. Liquidish. All right. So I would start with, like, for example, 5 to 6 meals, and then breastfeeding, and then you slowly, so every 2 to 3 hours the baby should be eating something. And also I think we should also not to forget to include green vegetables.
It has to be balanced.
Vegetables, and these babies are prone to, I mean, we, even us women, we're prone to iron deficiency anemia, and we have to get sources like spinach and all these green leaves that we have. And so mothers ask me, how do I feed spinach to my child? And well, just like you boil it, you put it in your grinder, make it like a soup, and feed it to your child.
All right. Let's get to the other thing that many mothers struggle with, and this is colic. How can colic be handled?
I can't even tell you how simple this is.
Really simple?
Well, you know, colic pain, I'll tell you what it is. It's when we have, when we feel gaseous, when we have gas in the stomach, we tend to you know, burp and take out the gases. But babies are not able to do that. They're not able to burp on their own. So what I tell most mothers, what they do is, as soon as they breastfeed their child, they either lie them down or they just keep them there. They forget to burp the child. So as soon as you finished feeding your child, put your child on your shoulder. So the stomach would be on the shoulder, and then you do just light tapping movement till the baby falls asleep.
So the tummy needs to be on your shoulder.
On the shoulder, here. So, and you're just tapping the baby like this.
On the back.
On the back, lightly. And the baby is falling asleep because he's fed, he's satisfied, she's satisfied, and you're just making him sleep and you're just tapping him, and make sure you hear that burp or you hear him belch. So, and then you just make him lie down. You'll see he won't have colic.
So colic is as a result of accumulated gas in the baby's system.
Yes, it's nothing just that.
I hope you have the solutions now, mothers, because mothers struggle a lot, and we have medicines like, you know, Bonicen and all these other syrups, but they don't help. So the issue is burp your child every time after breastfeeding.
Yes, so important.
Okay, let's look at the other factors where you have to put into perspective the, you know, optics of the child. Are they really seeing? Can they see? And also their hearing ability. How should mothers check out for that, just at the comfort of their homes?
So the first thing, it's very earlier on you can see these things, and we asked. So that goes back to the wellness clinic where you go, you take your child to the immunization and they see the development. So the first thing I ask, at 6 weeks, so that's like, you know, we see the child at 1.5 months, and so the one of the milestones is I ask the mother, so does the child smile? And the smile comes in at 1.5 months. And how do you know the child smiles? So when you're breastfeeding the child is looking at you and smiling. So that eye contact, so that's how you know, okay, the vision is developing, because he or she is making that eye contact and is smiling. So it's as early as 1.5 months you can make this out. And as far as hearing is concerned, so, well, the hearing is, well, it's there at birth, but how do you know the child is hearing? So that's why you remember we get that noisy toys, the shakers, So as soon as you shake the toy, you'll see the baby move the head towards the toy. So it's just these simple things. So even when we check up the children, I have so many toys in my clinic, and so I just shake the toy and that child will immediately turn to the noise. So if the
baby doesn't turn towards the side where the noise is coming from, where you're shaking the shaker, then it tells you that there's issues with the hearing.
Definitely. And we can there are modalities to investigate that. Even if it is a vision problem, the modalities to investigate that. But that's what I'm saying. It's so important to bring in your child to make sure that you don't miss out on these milestones.
Let me ask you, if you get to a point whereby you've realized early enough that my child has issues with vision and my child has issues with hearing, can that be reversed if detected early?
Well, by reversal, I wouldn't say reversed, but it can definitely be treated.
Yes. And the child can get to 100% of seeing clearly and hearing clearly.
Yes, definitely. There are treatment modalities for that, where you can see and hear, but also it depends on the cause of this hearing and vision defects. Having said that, again, that traces back to maternal causes. So sometimes this vision and hearing defects can be due to maternal infections. So we would have to test the mother and the child to see if it was something that was gotten from the maternal side, so it was passed intraplacental. Yes.
Wow. I didn't know it's that complex, that you actually get to the mother and look at the child as well when you're investigating this.
We have to. So if it's a vision or a hearing defect earlier on in life, we definitely check up the maternal infection titers.
Okay, all right. So your last remarks as we come to a close. I know at your clinic you're having free checkups for mothers and children. Tell us more about that.
So we're having free checkup for children up to the age of 18 years. I am so passionate about growth and nutrition and the general wellness of children that I want to show how it is done, how we do it. So our free checkup is we are going to do all these anthropometric measurements, and we're going to weigh the child and put them against these growth charts, and then they have a free consultation with me regarding the inference of these values and anything else, any other doubts that they have.
Okay.
Yes.
So where do they come? Where's the clinic?
So the clinic is at Uganda Cares building. It's on the ground floor. That is Old Kira Road.
Okay.
Yes.
So the free checkups start from today to what day?
Saturday.
To Saturday.
Yeah.
So okay, so guys, rush.
Yes.
It's free at her clinic from morning to around what time?
So from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
To 1 p.m.
and then 3 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
From today to Saturday. So
Yes.
get your children out for this particular free checkups, and of course your last remarks to the mothers, especially to new mothers who have no idea on how to take care of these children. What would you tell them?
I would tell them breastfeed your child, be confident. It's a lovely phase. Live that moment, that bond you share with your child. And if you have any questions, if it's just as simple as I don't know how to breastfeed my child, feel free to come and consult a medical profession.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shinsha
Thank you
Shetty,
so much
for coming in studios. So yeah, guys, there's free checkup for you guys at NSK Clinic from today all the way to Saturday. So get out, take your children and get checked. So that has been it for Solutions segment. Keep it here. Morning at 10 TV still continues. Up next is Take Note.